Today, we're going to be talking to the head of post-production at YMH Studios, my good pal, Chris Larson. Don't talk yet. And I would like to say thank you to the executive producer of this episode, David Finkel. Without David Finkel's big baller support, I would probably be calling up my good pal, Chris Larson, and asking him if I could become his landscaper. And then just kind of like start with him and then through word of mouth, become all of my friends' landscaper. And sure, it's going to be hard in the beginning. I'm going to have to be doing a lot of pushing and pulling on some equipment. But, eventually I'll just start building up my team and just start, build up grassroots, literally, from the ground up. But because of my big baller supporters like David Finkel, I don't have to do that. And if you want to become a big baller supporter of the show, you can go ahead and click the Patreon link in the description below. Welcome to Catching You Up with Nadav. I'd like to thank you and remind you to comment, like, and subscribe. And now that all that's out of the way, I'm so sorry I had to do all that. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest, Christopher Larson.
Welcome to me. Good to be here. So excited to be on a mic.
Dude, thank you so. I honestly can't believe you said yes to this because I know your temperament and personality, and this is such a quick no from you.
Yeah, it is. You should feel special and honored.
I do. Dude, anytime I'm around you, I feel special and honored. And, the reason that I'm doing this series is a lot of people see people like me, they see people like you, and they're like, these people just happenstanced upon this, cool job that they have. Like, that shit's easy. And it's like, it's not that easy. Like, it comes like with a career full of decisions that get you here. And this is just kind of showing people that every person has their own career path and blueprint how they got to where they are. Mm-hmm. And so this is just kind of figuring out how you got to where you are. And maybe for someone that does want to become a head of post-production at some podcast production studio, that they'll be able to retrace your steps and recreate that lightning in a bottle that you have, Chris.
Well, I don't know if they'll be able to retrace them entirely, but I can give as much insight as I can into how I got here.
You hate this so much. You hate this so much. Oh, this is gonna be a great hour, dude.
Yeah, well, I'm not great at limelight, as you can see.
Yeah,
I'm not the star of the show, obviously.
Well, I disagree with that.
I'm the star of my own show.
You're the star of my show because, Chris, you are the first person that I've ever hired in my life. Mm-hmm. And I think I understand you better than anyone at YMH Studios. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm close with a lot of people there. Mm-hmm. But you and me came from assistant editor backgrounds.
Yes, we have very similar backgrounds.
So I was like, oh, we have very similar brains. Like, we know workflow, we know how to be efficient, like, we know, nerd shit on just like, oh, fucking, here's some hotkeys, all that.
Yeah.
Inside
We understand the process, and our brains are built that way.
Right.
I would say we have very different temperaments and personalities, but
I agree with that. Yeah, you don't like cracking skulls as much as I do.
No, I don't. I do enjoy the rage, but it's much more quieter.
Oh yeah, your rage is very interesting. Yeah. But let's I'll describe first. What we'll do is first I'll talk about my first time interacting with you, and then we'll kind of like get into your history a little bit, how you learned all your skills, and then just kind of build from there.
Okay.
So I remember the way I was introduced to you was, I think at this point I had been freelance editing Your Mom's House podcast with Tom Segura and Christina P. I want to say for like maybe close to a year, where it was just me picking up footage from them and then editing it at home and doing all the uploads and all that. Mm-hmm. And I remember that there was like, I was going on vacation to Israel for like a week and a half or 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was right around Christmas time.
Yeah. It was right around then. And I remember telling them, I'm like, hey, so I'm going to be going to Israel for a while. I don't know how, like, if you guys want to get ahead or, like, I forget how that was. I mean, this was like 7 years ago at this point. But I remember they were like, yeah, we have a guy, Chris Larson. He's a good dude. Just talk to him and, just kind of tell him how you do the stuff you do, and I'm sure he'll be fine. And in my head, I'm like, I don't think comics know how to find post-production people, but all right, fine, that's fine. Like, I'll talk to him.
Yeah.
And I remember, was it a phone call or did you come over to my place?
I came over to your place. I do remember that. We might have talked on the phone prior to that.
Right.
Obviously to set all that up. But yeah, I never met Tom before. I still had not met Tom, if I think, at that point.
And then the connection was that you worked at the documentary post house that his cousin.
Yes, I was.
You were working on his films.
I was not working on his cousin's project. I didn't get connected through his cousin, Brian Lazarte.
Yeah.
And he was working on another documentary at that house, and I was also working on something else at that same documentary house. And he just like, it's all one building, so we all talk to each other. And
Right.
I think he just saw that, like, you know, this guy's an AE, he's competent, he knows what the fuck he's doing. You know, my cousin's looking for work, someone to fill in for a guy that's taking a vacation. Are you available, kind of thing. And he just basically connected me through Tom. He's like, do you know who Tom Segura is? And I'm like, yeah, I've seen it. At that point, I had actually seen like both of his specials at that point. I think it was Completely Normal and Mostly Stories that already come out. And I loved them. And so like I knew who he was talking about at the time. So then, yeah, he connected me with Tom, or I guess he gave Tom my number and he called me, or I called him. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, then I talked to Tom. He filled me in that you were taking a vacation and that we need someone to fill in. And so I was like, fuck it, extra cash on the side. I'll take it. Because I was freelance too. It's not like I had any steady income. I'll take any job at that time.
Dude, that freelance, like working freelance post-production
is god awful.
Yeah. I hope you like stomach ulcers because it is fucking nerve-wracking.
I would say freelance in any kind of production or element. Like I felt almost lucky, almost blessed, just because I was in post-production. And the advantage of post-production is that gigs last weeks.
Right.
Whereas in production, gigs last days.
Right.
And I could not...
Hold on, stop banging the table.
Oh, sorry. I could not possibly last in production because I can't conceive of how I would have like lined up gig after gig after gig after gig after gig. Like I did like a couple production like PA gigs when I was really young, starting out, and like they would tell me about how they were double dipping. They would do this gig and then they had one in the evening that they were also doing. I'm just like, I can't do that. I can't.
Right.
I'm gonna kill myself if I do that.
It's a completely different, like it's a different style of person. Like
different
production
person.
people are night and day different from post-production people.
Yeah,
like that's why I understood you. I was just like, yeah, working production is like working labor. You're working 16-hour days back to back to back to back.
Yes.
And like if you're working a commercial, it's a super high rate for like 2 insane days, but then it's like you don't have to work all month if you get one of those. But it's also 2 days of complete hell.
Yeah.
So when I came across you and you came over for that first editing session, I was like, okay. All right, this guy's understanding. Like he understands the program very well. He has an assistant editor mind. I didn't have to explain any type of concepts to you.
Right.
And I think while I was explaining it to you, you were like,
okay.
You were like, well, you were kind of like rushing through it. You're like, yeah, I know how to fucking multicam. Like I know, like you're trying to explain shit to me like I don't know what I'm doing, which was just how I trained people. I'm like, let's just assume you're the dumbest person I know, and how would I teach you to do this if you were super dumb?
Silently judging your organizational structure, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah? What do you have to say about my folder structures, dude?
They were good.
They were top tier, man.
Oh,
You're still fucking using them.
I cleaned them up a little bit.
You cleaned them up a bit. Oh,
no,
Chris.
they were good. They were good. They were better than most in terms of like productions I'd worked on. So,
and that's
how
all stuff
I knew.
that you
Like
pick
you
up.
also probably knew what you were doing too,
Right?
Because like, all right, he clearly understands why things are in certain areas. Like these should be in these spots because like, and that's what AEing is a lot of.
Organizing to prevent disaster.
It's not sexy. It's not like
it's the least sexy.
Yeah, it's like making sure everything works.
Right.
Yeah.
And that there's no and then if it doesn't work, that there's quick, easy fixes.
Yeah.
Like all that's it's all anticipation and preventing fires from happening to the best of your ability.
I always had my philosophy was like when I was doing AE work was like if I did my job right, I will never hear the editor will never call me. Again. Right. Because everything will been like it'll make sense. Everything will be in the right place. Nothing will go offline. They'll have no problems.
Right.
If I did my job poorly, then they'll be calling me every fucking night.
Oh, and there were I'm sure you have some of these stories of like drama queen editors that like they don't know how to do anything technical. They just know how to creatively edit. Where they're like, I remember having moments like before I started working for YMH where I would get like I would just hear my name being screamed, like yelled. I'm like, what's going on? and like I go into the office, and the editor's just like, "This is out of sync 2 frames." I'm like, "Okay." He goes, "Why am I getting clips that are out of sync? Are you not checking this?" I'm like, "Hold on, dude. Like, what? Do you not know how to? Hold on. Let me get into this multicam real quick. Let me just like nudge 2 frames. There, it's all fixed." Like, no. You do this on your machine. Save it back up to the server. Tell me when I could open it back up. I'm like, I can't wait to be able to act like this.
I don't think I had anyone that was that dramatic. But
I've had at least 2 of those.
I definitely had people that are like, "Oh, you're stupid. Like, you don't know what to do unless like your only skill is creative editing, and like if you were left to your own device, you would not be able to get anything done."
Right. And I don't understand how people skip the AE.
I don't understand that either. It's like, how do you edit without knowing how to use Avid or
right? Because if you run into any problems, like, how are you fixing them?
How? Yeah. It never made sense to me, but that's just how it is.
But that's the cool thing about, I think, that the transition from working for traditional entertainment to now podcasting, whereas you're your own assistant editor, you're your own editor,
everything.
You're everything. You're the post supervisor. Like, it's you run the post production at YMH Studios.
Yeah.
So it's like, and not only that, but then you run into people where it's like, I've run into editors where it's like, they're traditional entertainment editors, like that are in the entertainment industry, either in LA or in New York. Mm-hmm. And then when I start explaining, I remember like you and me interviewed quite a bit of people where in the interview you realize like, oh, like they're not used to doing everything. Like they're used to like when projects get handed over to me, like, is it stuff already going to be in sync? Is there's like, no. No, dude, you're getting empty projects.
Yeah.
And you're putting everything in yourself and you're setting it all up. You're doing all the syncing. You're doing everything.
Yeah.
Like, this is... No, dude. You're going to be wearing a lot of hats in this industry. And it's going to pay you way worse.
Yeah. Because it's coming from a sort of a structured media, like... Because, like, film and entertainment and television have these, like... These practices in place already from years of, existing. And all of that kind of gets thrown out the fucking window when it comes to new media like podcasting.
Right. Because the budgets aren't there. Yeah. Like, it's Coca-Cola isn't sponsoring stuff.
It's like when you do any indie project, and you'll see a lot of it in independent productions as well, like, because they don't have money. Like,
right.
And that, I would see it a lot in documentaries, obviously, because there's so many independent documentaries. Because that's where I got started.
Plus those projects last so much longer than the average thing, because sometimes they'll start a project and they're like, we don't even know what the story is yet.
That's why if you're looking for editing work, look at documentaries, because those things last forever.
That is true, because you never worked for free, and you were working on long projects.
Yeah. Like that's because the thing with documentaries is when it comes to like a film or television, like scripted material, like the story's already written, this thing's already shot, they already know what it's supposed to look like. And so really your job as an editor is assembly, really. It's just like, this is how it's supposed to look, let's make it look sexy. That's about it. Whereas in documentaries, they shoot a bunch of shit and they don't know what they're doing with it.
Right.
So your job is also not only going through all of it, it's also figuring out what we're going to use.
Have you ever dealt with imposter syndrome?
I've definitely dealt with situations where I've like, oh, I was definitely underqualified. Where like I was in a situation that was like I fucked up kind of thing, like I think I had one gig that was really easy. It was literally just like deliver this, and this was when I was like much earlier in my career, like first year or second year. And they were like, oh, we just need this, this thing's been cut, we just need to re-deliver it. So I need to re-export it and sent out to this distribution company. And so my job should have taken an hour. It should have been like, I pop in, open up the project, change the export settings, and then leave.
Right.
But then I was like looking at it, and I was like, this is before I understood what time codes properly were. And so I had shifted it because I was like, well, that's not starting at 00. It's starting at 5950. And I didn't understand what that meant.
So for the people that don't know, normally what happens is you could set up. God, this is gonna sound so fucking nerdy.
Yeah. Basically, the runtime of a film when you're delivering it, they'll put 10 seconds at the top of just like slate.
Right,
where
which
it's
tells
like,
you
this is what this film is. This is how long it is.
This is the frame rate. This is what the audio track layout looks like. Like everything that you need to know about the actual file.
Yes, exactly. And it'll run for 5 or 10 seconds depending on the specs. And And then the movie itself will start at 1 hour exactly.
Exactly. So you need to now do like funky stuff into your sequence settings to make sure like, oh, okay, so this starts before hour 1 and blah, blah, blah. And like there are some people that will fucking tear your head off. They're like,
So yeah, I shifted it to an hour.
so it
it
started at 1
1
hour,
hour.
5 seconds or something like that?
Basically,
1 hour, 10
the
seconds?
movie itself, and yeah, I didn't get called back after that. They didn't hire
Isn't
me.
that rough?
Yeah. I
feel
well,
like-
because the thing is, like, I knew I'd fucked up too. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, we're just gonna call that.
Wait,
one-
but you didn't
call
even
that
get a
wash.
talking to? Like it was, you fucked up one delivery and then that was it?
Yeah, pretty well. Yeah, because it's freelance, and so she's like, I'm hiring you at a cheap rate because it was cheap at AE. Like I'm like very little experience. Like, she got what she paid for basically. But yeah, it's like you make a mistake like that, especially on the first or second gig with that person. They're like, all right, this guy's not that competent.
Right.
I'm not gonna keep hiring him if I want to have to, because then you're just gonna have to redo it with someone
Right.
else.
Exactly. Yeah. You're just, this person is creating more issues than they're solving. And I just need someone to just do the thing that knows. But, you know, sometimes you get gigs where you get set up for failure. Like I remember I was at this was the gig. I think this was one of the first gigs I had after I got laid off from my full-time ad agency project, where like I was like the lead AE, like I was like, I know these programs inside out, and this was back in the day where everything was on Final Cut 7. So this was like, now we're in like Premiere. I'm kind of new to Premiere. I'm like, this kind of translates over to everything. And the first day they're like, cool, you're gonna be delivering this episode to the Scripps Network. And I was like, cool. And they did not send me what the delivery specs were. So I was just like, I mean, QuickTime ProRes 444, like that's what it's the best quality. Like they're literally telling me fucking nothing, and they're like, you fucked up that delivery. I'm like, show me the thing that God, this is so fucking nerdy. Like, and no one understands any of this shit. So let's plow through this. Let's plow through this a little bit.
It's getting you angry, and it's not
right.
No one understands why.
I'm just reliving my fucking traumas, like, because that's the thing too, is that like anytime I could. Before YMH, because I could probably remember every single one of my big mistakes that was like, that I lost sleep over, that, you know, things imprint and you're like, I'm never making that mistake again. Yeah. Because you're like, okay, this puts you in a very embarrassing situation and I would like to avoid those at all costs. Right. But now let's fast forward a little bit.
Okay.
So you had taken over YMH for like 2 weeks, and there were seemingly no issues with it. And it was just like, oh, cool. All right, this guy is like a very good like safety net. Like if I ever go back to Israel for a little bit or I go on vacation, like we have a guy to call. And then I think Christina started back up That's Deep Bro, right?
That's correct, yes.
And they were trying to tack me on. It was like, hey, why don't you do this for like an extra whatever? I was just like, hard no. Like, like I'm sorry. Like I'm doing freelance like during the day, and it's just like the amount of extra, like it's double the work for like not double the money. So then I realized that they hired you to start doing that. I was like, oh fuck yeah! Like he's starting to chop up everything, and like he's like honing his teeth. And I remembered there was like 2 years of freelance. Where I was working on YMH and you were working on That's Deep Bro. Or I don't know how long That's Deep Bro was.
It went about a year, I think, because I think she pulled the plug on it right around the time she got pregnant with Julian, I think.
Got it.
But it was about a year. And that was fun to work on. Because it's easy. It was a quick, it was an easy like 4-hour gig on the weekends. I would just like knock it out and make a couple extra bucks. Right.
And it's consistent, it's steady,
it's stable, steady. It's like
extra shit on top.
I take my Saturday morning and I'm done. Like I've got it was that, and then like that was fun because like I got to get more involved in actual comedy. Like to that point, I had not done anything comedy related except from like when I was in college. Right. It was all like documentary stuff because that's what I was getting work in, and like some like corporate videos, you know, like promotional ones. Like, we had a corporate party and we want to make a video out of it. And it's like, all right, whatever. But that was fun. And one of the things Christina and I would do is because we didn't like to, like, I don't know if Tom was like this too, where like we just to exchange the cards. Like they wouldn't like, like I wouldn't hand it to them personally,
Uh-huh.
right? Like I would drop it somewhere for them,
Right.
and then I would let them know that it's there. Or
Right,
whatever.
right. Like they'd leave it under the mat, and then you go, and then you like,
You slide it on the mat or in the mailbox or whatever.
Yeah.
But I would be like, I would text her like the cat is in the bag or like the fiddler is on the roof, like stupid shit like that to let her know I dropped off the cards.
And then she would just
thumbs up it. Yeah, she never gave it back to me. I was really proud of it, and she gave me nothing. I think she gave me a haha once. But,
so let's rewind a little bit.
yeah.
So you're in post-production.
Mm-hmm.
How long ago did you make the decision, hey, this is what I want to get into? And then, like, did you know in college that this is what you wanted to do?
Probably I was started in college. Like, when I was in college, I was trying to get into this, like, student media group, which is called Cal TV. But I applied the first semester. I didn't get in. And so then I went home over that summer and got connected with a local access television station.
Okay.
That's where I learned how to use anything. Like that's the first time I encountered a camera that was not like, like a phone, like a digital camera, like an actual like camera.
Okay.
This is the first time I encountered Final Cut, right? So I got like a summer out of that, and then used that to get my spot in Cal TV the next semester, and that's how I got connected with post-production for the most part. I learned most of my editing skills in that organization. Honestly, that is probably the most valuable part of college at all was the student group I was a part of.
Yeah,
because
it's never the classes, that prepare you.
It's never the degree you're getting.
It's the clubs that you're in, it's the friends you make, and it's the internships that you get.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I've never gotten a job because of my degree. I've gotten a job because someone knew someone.
I mean, I technically never even graduated college, and look at me. I've spent 4 years in college where I was like, that's fucking it. I'm a studio art major. Like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Look where it got you.
Yeah. At the cream of the crop, baby.
Cream of the crop, baby.
So, you could drop out of college and say, hey,
start your own
this is enough.
podcast.
Yeah, start your own podcast and become a fucking I don't know, man.
I just wanted to bring you down a little bit.
Yeah, be a professional idiot, you
know?
So you did your experiences in college.
Yeah.
And then, so from college, like, how did you land your first job?
So right out of college, I had moved down to LA because literally everyone I knew moved to LA after college because they were looking for work too. Mm-hmm. And you're not going to find it in the Bay Area. You could find it in the Bay Area. It's just slimmer pickings. But so I moved to LA, got connected with this like graduates of like this alumni group, right? Like
cool.
People who also graduated from Berkeley.
Great. Which, by the way, everyone should be doing. Like, if you don't know how to find the gig or how to find mentors, alumni associations of colleges, if you were ever in a fraternity, which like seems lame like to a lot of people, but I cannot tell you how many times that has helped me throughout my
Basically,
career.
any group, organized group of people from...
Make friends.
Yes, make friends.
Make a lot of friends. Make more friends than you want.
Yeah. Because they're not going to be all your friends. They're going to be meal tickets.
That are friends.
But are friends. That become friends. Meal tickets that become friends. Yeah, but so I got connected. So I met up with a bunch of people who were alumni, and someone was looking for someone to edit their video. This was like he was just like corporate video stuff. It wasn't like scripted or documentary. It was like we had a launch party and we want highlights of it, whatever. So that was my first gig I got. And I've worked with that guy for probably 4 years after college. Like, he's the first guy I worked with, and I basically kept working with him until maybe 6 months before I started working with YMH. Because it was steady work. It's like he always had something for me to do.
Right.
It wasn't always editing, but it was always something to do. And when you're hungry and out of college, you'll take any gig that's not like that's in your industry at least tangentially.
Exactly. But like, this is close enough, and I'm
not waiting tables. I'll do this.
Right.
Right. I'm still technically doing editing work or technically doing production work.
Right. Wait, how old were you when we first crossed paths?
This this would have been, what would that, I mean, what year was that?
Like 2016,
2016,
2017?
2017. So, yeah, I would have probably been like 25, 26.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
When
All
I
right.
First cross pass.
Okay.
Because I turned 30 when I was working at YMH.
Okay.
So, yeah, anyway, I worked with that guy for years, and then got connected with, again, through Berkeley people, like alumni. They also got me connected with the post house that I worked at for like a year or two. That was probably the most formal version of editing work I ever had at that point. Like, it was like we worked on like actual documentaries, like I didn't work on this one, but one of the ones that was working there was the one that was on Netflix a couple of years ago, the What About Bill Gates.
Okay.
So it was like actual things that would actually be on actual networks.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Some random guy's YouTube channel. It wasn't that. It was like,
when you get to work on stuff, that you're like, hey, guys, check this out. Like, this is
look,
the thing
my name.
My name's in the credits.
I'm super special. No. So yeah, but that was cool because you got to work on things that were like more interesting. I think I worked on this thing for about like Steve Jobs for quite a while,
Cool.
which is interesting just to learn about like his life a little bit.
Right. Complete sociopath.
A little bit. But yeah, and then after that, I was working on that while I was working at YMH for a brief period. It was like 6 months of that, and then I went full time with YMH.
Right. Let's take a quick break from the episode and say thank you to our sponsor, SoundShed Studios. As you've noticed, we're here recording in my home studio, which is nice, but not nearly as nice as SoundShed Studios. What do you do? What do they do? Why did I film there? Well, what they are is they're a turnkey podcast production facility. You say, hey, I want to film a podcast, and they say, how high? No, they don't say how high. It's much more tactful, and they're much more real. They're honestly great people over there. But if you go to soundshedAV.com, you're able to book an appointment, and they provide everything for you. Microphones, lighting, camera, all of that stuff is figured out for you. So all you need to do, show up, talk into a microphone for however long your podcast is, and then they give you all the assets. They charge by the hour, and honestly, it's one of the most reasonable rates I've ever seen, depending what you want to do. But go to SoundShedAV.com to book an appointment today. Now let's get back to the show in a studio that looks a lot better than this. So now this is where now the timeline picks up, so I was working freelance for YMH for about a year and a half, 2 years before, and about 2 years into it, I was working at Machinima where I met Enny. Where we were just doing a daily streaming VR show. We were playing VR games every day. Like, honestly, that was the easiest gig. That's where I learned how to drink hard alcohol, like without any mixers. You've seen some of those?
I think you showed me a few of them.
Okay, because they told me they deleted everything off the internet. Once Rooster Teeth bought Machinima, they literally deleted everything on the Machinima channel just as a fuck you. Funny enough, now Rooster Teeth is gone, so layers of shit should be deleted. But so I remember when I was working at Machinima, it was such a complicated stream. It was like it was a crew of 15 people. 3 or 4 people that were talent, 2 writers, 2 or 3 producers, and like a camera crew of like 5 people. And it was on Twitch. It was a daily Twitch show for 1 hour, which if you know anything about Twitch, streaming every day is great. 1 hour is going to do nothing for you. So we had good shows, and I'm proud of the things that we did. It was really fun and funny. Like Enny will attest to it. I mean, I'd fucking hope so. But I remember looking at our concurrent viewers, and it was smaller than the amount of people that were working on the show. And I'm like, that's not
sustainable.
Like, this is a very easy paycheck, and I'm just getting paid to play VR games all day. And then like the rule was whatever job I worked at, Mondays I leave early because that was my YMH day. Like that's when I go pick up SD cards, and like I work through the night like until like 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then I'll come on Tuesday, and then you have me the rest of the week, normal, easy peasy. And so I remember when I realized at Machinima, I'm like, our crew outweighs our concurrent viewers on Twitch. Like the writing's on the walls. Like this is not going to last long. I need to come up with an exit strategy.
Right.
Within a week of me having that thought, Tom and Christina call me and they're like, hey, we're thinking of starting a production, like a podcast network. And we can't really do that unless you're on board. Are you on board? I'm like, yes. Take me away from this place, please. Like it's fucking this place. Like like this place is gonna come crashing down very, very soon. And I think within 6 or 12 months of me leaving there, Machinima closed its doors and a whole bunch of weird stuff happened. But I'll cut that out. No, I won't. So, and then we started building up a team. I was like, oh, there's all this like tech stuff that I don't understand. Like, let me call up Enny. He was like the best tech director at Machinima that I knew. And like he started helping. Or actually, I think we probably already started setting up that stuff, but he came and saw what I was doing. He's like, oh, dude, this is all wrong and stupid. And I'm like, cool. What's your day rate? Come here and fix it. And I remember like the first thing I needed help with was like, it was literally me and Potter were the first full-time employees. Because it started off with me and him just running that office, and it was like we'd be in it was me figuring out a workflow of like, how does this work live? I need someone to switch. I need someone to take notes. I need someone
Potter,
to Google.
He can't see.
Potter was the one taking notes at first. He was the one doing all the logging.
Yeah.
And then I was like, we need another post guy. Like we need someone that with another brain like mine that could edit stuff while shows are going on. Because now we're doing more and more shows where it's like, right. I can't turn all these around by myself. Like even turning around, we were recording YMHs on Monday, and then me personally, I would stay there until I took that line cut, made all the corrections that we needed to, and then exported so it was ready for that Tuesday to be uploaded. And I still remember a mistake that I made because that first episode we had Sickler, Dr. Drew, and Santino. And I remember because of a fucking stupid way that text layers work in Premiere Pro, Sickler had a Dr. Drew lower third come on.
Oh, that's fun.
And that is burned in my head. And I'm never going to fucking forget that. I'm like, that's Ryan Sickler. It's not Dr. Drew. And like, I remember even Sickler texting me. He's like, hey, bro. Hey man, you know my name's Ryan, right? Like,
I don't have a PhD.
And I remember we started hiring you. I can't remember if you started off freelance and then we made you full time.
It was freelance initially because I was still working at the dock house. I had my hands in both cookie baskets. Jars.
Right. We had you, I remember I had you, was I just having you doing post-production? Did I have you switching while you were freelancing too?
I think it was a little bit of both. I did eventually obviously switch. We all know that. But I can't remember if I
switching meaning doing live editing. So like while things are happening, like there's someone saying, oh, switch from this camera, switch to that camera, switch to the wide, like all that stuff.
I don't remember if I did that early. But it did eventually happen when I went full time for sure. Because Enny would be like we needed to switch out who was doing the switching, kind of like regular. It was regular. Yeah,
it was just like everyone needed to know how to do multiple things so that you could just plug into whatever position needed to be done.
Yes, because Enny's not always available to switch, so we need someone else who can slide into that.
Right.
Potter's not always available to log, so we need someone who can slide into that.
Right. And then you're not always available to edit, so we need someone to do that. And just forcing everyone to be able to do everything, plug into whatever you can, which is not a fun process.
It's not a fun process. It's definitely not the most efficient, but it's what was necessary.
I remember one time I have this memory burned in my head. Mm-hmm. I remember and this is while we're still figuring out live switching. Mm-hmm. Because while you're live switching, sometimes your brain will just fucking go off and you'll forget that you're on someone for 30 seconds. And you're like, holy shit, I've been on this person for way too long. And you just start freaking out, switch to something else, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I remember I'm next to you. I'm like, all right, switch to 2. Switch to 2. Stand by camera 2, switch to camera 2. And you're just off somewhere in your head. And I physically
switch to 2.
No. I smacked your arm, switch to 2, and then I was like, I don't like what just happened. I think I apologized to you afterwards. I'm like, hey man, sorry about that. I'm not like that, and I don't think I ever hit you again. But I remember that day very vividly. I was like, I don't like that.
I guess I trauma blocked that. I don't remember that at all.
You don't remember that?
No. I mean, yeah, no, I don't
Well,
remember.
right. You were in your own.
I was kind of off in my own world, I guess.
I was snapping you back. I was helping you out. But what I would like to say, I remember so vividly the time where I'm like, Chris, I would like to discuss with you coming full time. And I remember it was like, I would like you to meet me at Mort's Delicatessen. Do you remember that?
But that's not when we discussed full time. That was when we discussed the actual job itself.
The part time?
Yes. Because that's when the studio was starting. That was before the studio started.
Oh, that was me when I was gathering up the freelance team, and we hadn't made any full time hires yet.
Correct.
Okay.
That
was like
that was like I want to say like January or something. Like it was like right before the studio had started.
Right. Like we were still building it, and like we hadn't actually started production in it yet.
Yes.
So I remember that meeting so well because it was the first time I was interviewing someone for a job, like where I was in that seat.
Right.
And so I was trying to like play the role of someone that interviews someone for jobs, and I didn't know what that looked like. So I tried to seem so much more of a pro than I was. Like, there was complete imposter syndrome. I remember I was like, hey, yeah, meet me at Mort's Delicatessen down the road. It'll be, just a quick lunch. Like, I just want to like get a feel out, see if you're a good fit, and like do all that, like saying just all sorts of random shit that I've heard said to me. And I'm like, I don't know what any of this means.
Yeah. I'm gonna guess Christina recommended that place to you.
No. It was just down the street. It was
Okay.
it was just easy because it was right down the
Because
street.
she recommended that place to me once when I was looking for lunch.
And that place sucks. Like,
It's not great.
It's a classic. It's been in Reseda forever, and like
Yeah.
it's like been around since the 70s, probably longer than that.
Yeah.
But like it's garbage food.
it's not great.
If no one's ever like, let's go to Mort's. I'm like, yeah. But
maybe if you're over the age of 60, you was really
right,
into it.
exactly. Like the
That
food
was
that
the
you
clientele.
grew up with, and. So I remember like where we just ordered like our food, like it's coming, and like I'm like trying to be like, how's the freelance world treating you? You getting good gigs? Like just trying to fucking like be like establish like the type of authority that I'm just replicating from previous interviews that I've done. And of course you nailed it. I was just like, yeah, I already know everything that you need to know. It was more or less just gauging how down you were. You know?
Right. Yeah, I don't think I went to that thinking like this was a job interview. This is more of like a gauging my interest. If anything, it was a job interview for you. If anything, like it was you want to hire me, and
you were interviewing me whether you wanted the job.
Yes,
I see. Oh wow. Okay, so we both went into that with completely different perspectives. But I remember, dude, you said one line that shook me where I was like, he is either the funniest person that I'm ever going to get along with, or this is going to be a rough road ahead of us. I remember like we were finishing up our lunch. I was like, yeah, man, this is good stuff. Like, I'd love to have you on the team if you're open to it. Let me run it up the ladder and like see what the people on top say.
Oh, is that when I made fun of you for saying that?
And you were like, you mean Tom and Christina?
Yeah.
Who I know that you also talked to directly. I was like,
yeah. Tom, Christina.
Yeah, running up the ladder.
Running up that ladder.
One rung. It's a 2-rung ladder. I'm the bottom rung, and then they're the second top rung.
Yep.
Like, I remember you called it out immediately. I was like, all right, so he has no problem making me feel like an idiot. And honestly, I was so smitten by you. I was like, this, like, I was like, he is gonna be so fucking fun to work with, because like, it's also harmless shit talking. Like, it's harmless like pushing back. And I was like, oh, this person's like fun to fuck with, and also he'll fuck with you back.
Right. I don't speak in corporate speak. I'm like. I'm just kind of very straightwortauld about.
Yeah, you see
shit.
through the bullshit. You see through the fucking suit talk. And I was trying to be a suit. Granted, I don't think I was dressed up or anything.
No.
He's like, no, I
You
wore
were trying on the
like
suit
this.
talk, and it just wasn't fitting you right. It wasn't tailored.
Right. That's what it was. Yeah. My suit jacket was going past my shirt sleeve and stuff. You could tell it was oversized as a hand-me-down. I'm wearing my brother's suit, bar mitzvah jacket.
Yeah.
But I'm glad he said yes to that. And we slowly started building a team together. And yeah, dude, it's crazy that you were like I believe you were the first full-time hire.
Yeah.
You were the first full-time hire, and then Enny was
Enny.
like permalance forever before we were able to convince him to go full-time.
Yes.
And then Zolo.
And then Zolo, because we need another body.
Right.
We need
And
an
then
intern.
Potter. And like
Right.
that was
Did
literally
Potter ever go full time though? I feel like
Potter was full-time in the
Okay.
beginning. And then we just transitioned him from working to town because it's like, dude, you're a comic and like
and you can't see the screen.
so yeah, we were the first. So the four of us were the original LA crew.
Mm-hmm.
And then we all moved over to Austin. And then like
In pieces, yeah.
in pieces. Right. It was all staggered.
Yeah.
Where it was Enny moved first.
Yeah.
And then I
then you
moved like
did.
a month or two after him. And then you moved like a month or two after me. And then
And Zolo, like maybe a few more months after that.
right, like 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
Like he was looking
He was
after
finishing up his like college, I think.
Right,
That's what
right,
it
right.
was.
So he was like working out of the LA studio while we still had the lease.
Yep.
And then we all worked out of Enny's house for a while.
That was interesting.
That was like at least 6 months, maybe a little longer.
Something like that.
But that was like I thought the early times
That was
of
the
the Wild West,
jankiest we've ever worked.
that was the wildest shit ever. Because it's
Yeah.
like we're just working out of Enny's house, and it's just like Enny, this is because like what had happened was that we were moving and then didn't
studio
realize
wasn't
that
ready.
that Texas permits moved as slow as they did.
As they talk.
But like we were already signing leases because like we all thought that it was gonna work. Like we all thought that when they gave us a timeline of like finishing up the studio, that's like yeah, so it'll be done by that date. So we'll just stagger dates and and we'll figure that all out. And then as we all start moving, we realize like
The studio's not gonna be done.
studio's not gonna be done by the time we're all moved here. And so it was a position where Enny was like, I have some spare bedrooms, like we could just turn some of these bedrooms into sets. And that's what we ended up doing. And it was like that for 6 months where I can't, and God bless Enny, I can't imagine like having your place
Work show up to my house every day.
and literally it's just like there's no separation. It's
Yeah.
just like literally your bed and then everywhere else you work is now the office. Or everywhere else in your house is now the office.
Yeah.
So like
I mean,
and that's
even
the-
his bedroom at one point became part of the office.
right when we did that fucking YMH live with Rogan.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll get into more detail with this with Enny, but it was fucking crazy because I think 30 to 45 minutes before Tom and Christina's call time, they hit us up and they were like, hey, the kid is sick. Like the kids are sick. Like we need to figure out how to get like a Zoom option going. And we're like, this
sorry,
is
what?
a live event. And like your call time's in 45 minutes. Show starts in 2 hours. Like, what are you talking about? And so we're all like frantically trying to figure out like what's happening. But that's like that's a different story. They ended up figuring it out and they both came.
It'd be funny though if we had Rogan in there and Tom and Christina remote.
Right? Wouldn't that be fucking wild? Just all of Rogan's
Rogan's
security
just like-
guys, young Jamie's there, fucking just like watching the show. Everyone's just in Enny's house while all this is happening. And I remember I'd come up with this bit. I was like, there's no way Chris is gonna say yes to this. But I was like, what's funny is to do I think we had already started the birthday shout. Yeah, because
Yeah,
that
we
started
did the
in
birthday
LA.
shout-outs. Yeah.
So we had done birthday shout outs because forcing you to do things you don't like to do is the funniest thing ever. So we were forcing you to do social media posts.
Right.
Which I will cut to one right now, just so everyone knows what that looks like.
Oh joy. Hey everyone, it's March, so here's my monthly post. Happy Monday. Hope your Monday's good. Getting ready for the big week ahead. Quick birthday shout out to Maggie's boyfriend Dan. Happy birthday, Dan. Hope your birthday's good. Hope you do something fun for your birthday. So yeah, happy birthday, Dan. I went to see a movie this past weekend. That was fun. If you're looking for something fun to do, you should see a movie because that's fun. And if you're gonna, my tips for the movies is to stay off your phone. You know, don't go on Instagram or anything like that, and don't talk during the movie because it ruins the experience for the people who are with you, but everyone else in the theater as well. See you in a month. Bye.
And we're back. So now that's what those look like.
Hilarious.
And I thought it would be funny is if during the live show, every now and then, because during our live shows, what we would like to do to like promote, to have the show trending on Twitter is read some of the tweets or see some of the things or, you know, just react with Twitter to just help it like, you know, get bigger and bigger and stuff.
Yeah.
So my idea was, what if we combine that? What if we take that task and combine it with making Chris doing things he doesn't like and make him do shout outs that people are tweeting at him live during the show? I was like, let's add an extra layer on top of it and put strippers in the room. And just grinding on Chris so that whenever we cut to him, it's just he's in a party room with strippers. And it's going to get progressively wilder every time we cut to him. And I guaranteed, I was like, look, he's going to say no to the strippers, but like him saying no to that will definitely get him to say yes. Like that was my managerial like thinking of like, how do I get a yes from Chris?
Right.
Let me drop the bomb and then soften the blow. It's like, all right, you don't need to do the stripper.
Right.
But you said yes immediately. And I was just like, holy shit, I can't believe we got a yes out of this. And then you started playing around with it so much, you started coming up with extra bits with the strippers.
The escalation bits were all me, I think, yeah. Like, we initially, because I like, in my mind, it was like, all right, it needs to escalate. The first one's just going to be standard, like, strippers in the background, I'm reading tweets.
Right.
Do it dry, do it plain, establish what the bit is.
Yeah.
And then the second time, I'm like, all right, now they're going to get closer to me, right? So they got to be, like, up on me.
Yeah.
And I'm just not reacting to them at all. Like, I'm trying my best not to react to them. And then I'm like, okay, by the third time...
Are there tops off at this point?
I think by the third time, I was like, I can't remember if we do it... Do we do 3 or 4 times? I can't remember if we...
I think we cut to you between 3 and 4 times.
Because I think
we planned for 3.
I think the second time was they were up on me, and then the third time is their tops are off, right? Like, they're actually getting naked. And then
they're drenched on you. I remember they were fucking on you, right?
Right. And then, because I remember the second bit was I wanted them to pull the little firecrackers, right? So they're behind me, and I would signal them to pull the firecrackers. And then the third bit, their tops are off. And then the fourth bit is I'm on the bed, right? Like, that's where it's got to go. It's got to go with me on the bed, and they're basically nude. And yeah, that was all my suggestions. Yeah. You never said anything like that. No one actually knew what was going to happen except for me.
I was just like, hey, Chris is in a room full of strippers. We'll just cut to that whenever. Visually, that's always going to be funny. And then every time we cut to you, I was like, I did not tell Chris to do this. I didn't tell the strippers to do this. Like, I don't know what is happening, but I'm so happy it's happening.
The second bit was the money. That's what it was, because I was putting money in their clothes. Now I'm remembering.
Right.
Yes. That's what the second escalation was. And the third escalation was tops off. Fourth escalation was nude on the bed.
Yeah.
And me being more and more distracted each time.
Yeah.
Like, my hair's more messed up.
My
jacket's coming off.
And I'm not going to lie, I think you stole the show of that YMH Live. Like, God bless. Like, I mean, Rogan coming to Enny's house to fucking do this YMH Live is insane.
Yeah.
But I think you outperformed Rogan that night.
Take that, Rogan. I'm bigger than Rogan. You heard it from Nadav.
We'll cut that out. No, we won't. Leave it in. So, that was probably one of my favorite bits we've ever done with you. Yeah. I mean, the Chris versus Chad thing was always fun.
Yeah.
But like, any time where we get to see your personality and like just let you go like off the cuff, like is my favorite version of you. Because it's you uncensored is... What's the good one? There's ego, super ego, and id. Which one's like the most purest form?
Is it id is your most pure, like the lizard brain of you. Like, it's the.
So I feel like what we saw was Chris id or crid, if you will. I feel like we saw crid during
trademark
those times.
crid.
Yeah, like during Chris versus Chad, we saw crid.
We saw crid.
We saw pure crid.
Yeah.
But those are fun YMH stories. Like, let me circle back a little bit more to like what this series is, which is because you also had to evolve from being You had to evolve from being someone who is an assistant editor to now someone who's editing and live switching. And then we started hiring more editors that now you are in charge of.
Yes.
So what was that? Because I know it was difficult for me to go from like, hey, I'm a one-man show to, ooh, I'm now an executive producer that needs to delegate, and like that's terrifying.
Right.
So what was it like for you to go from, hey, I'm someone that reports to someone to now I have people that like I'm the one that's managing, like making sure that this stuff gets done?
So easy. No. No, it's a process. It took some time, and I think I had the advantage of it being a slow build. It wasn't like immediately overnight where I'm in charge of these people. Because like we first hired Chad, and then it became a 2-man editing team.
Right.
And then we hired.
Or it was just full-time editors.
Yeah,
we're
just
like
full-time
that's all
editors.
you guys were doing.
We're not like I'm not in the booth anymore. If I'm in the booth, it's usually to discuss a bit we did on the show or something that involved me. But for the most part, I'm just staying in that editing bay, and yeah, I mean it felt more natural, I think, for me, just because it was something that I had. It was my expertise, right? Like was editing, all right, so. It wasn't like I wasn't going from an editing background to, for instance, you were going to producing, right? Like you had an AE background, and then you went into producing, whereas I stayed in the post production element, right? So it was a little bit more natural for me, I think, in that regard. But it also helped that like I didn't go from having no one to having a team of 3 or 4, right? Like you started up a studio. And you had to immediately hire a bunch of people with different talents, whereas I just needed to manage people with the same talents.
Right. Right, and you didn't need to find them. Like you did help in a lot of the interview process.
Right.
Because I was like, if this person passes mine and Chris's tests, then I know that they're solid.
Right. Yeah. Because I always thought you were a better judge of character than I was, and so I did appreciate having you in those meetings with me.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
Well, you do have such a great character, and I knew immediately that you would be a great fit. Well, I was hoping.
Yeah. Whereas I am a little more standoffish with people and don't immediately connect with them.
But you connected with Chad so quickly.
I did connect with Chad, but I think it was we have a very similar temperament. Is like we're very like this sassy, sardonic kind of like shit on
like
each other.
Like sarcastic cynicism type
yes.
of deal. Yeah.
That kind of shit. And so we resonated with that pretty much immediately. And it was also helpful to just have someone that was just, whereas they were just like they were in the trenches with me. Like we were doing the same thing. Not like we're both building the studio. No, it's like we're both editing.
Right.
So we can relate on that level as well. But yeah, taking over post-production, it just became a natural evolution for me. Would I have predicted me running post-production for YMH Studios 10 years ago? No, obviously not. I didn't even know YMH Studios existed.
Right. It didn't.
Well, actually, YMH existed
10
years ago. This show's been running for a while.
It has.
But I didn't know.
Can't confirm.
I didn't. Podcasts are so new. Like, if no one went to college in our age group that was like, I'm going to do podcasts when I graduate, because they didn't know what they were.
Dude, everyone that I worked with, like when I said I'm going full time in podcasting, they're like,
are you stupid?
What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like, do you know how hard you've worked to like get to where you currently are? Your network of freelance
throwing
gigs,
all that away.
I'm just like, guys, you don't understand. Like, podcasting is the wild, wild west. Like, I have all the tools, and there's just no rules here yet.
Yeah.
So it's like, because in the normal industry, you know exactly what your path is. It's post-production assistant, assistant editor, and then either stay there or become a post supervisor, or like, that's kind of the path. Podcasting is just like, hey man, leapfrog from this island to fucking this shit, and then do that, and then you know how to do 8 different things. That's just like, hey, I'm a Swiss Army knife, and there's only one of me, you know? Where
so
it's
you
just
can't get rid of me.
And that was exciting. Is that like I knew what the path was through traditional media, but new media was like, there's no rules, there's no unions, like it's crazy.
Yeah.
And so as long as you're ready to eat shit for a little bit, like, and pay your dues, like, the limitless possibilities, which is what was the most exciting thing for me, which is why I decided to take on that job.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it also attracts a certain type of talent where it's just we don't work well in other kind of traditional environments. We're just like, I can't imagine me being an editor at like Sony or Disney. Like, I just like, I feel like I would get so frustrated so fast.
Yeah, but that's what they do there.
Structure.
You'd be a drama queen editor, which is like what the industry's already used to.
I'm not a drama queen.
I know you're not, but you're saying that you're worried that you'd become a drama queen editor.
No, I'm not saying I'd be worried I'm be a drama queen editor. I wouldn't be able to put up with it, is what I'm saying.
Oh, just the bureaucracy.
The bureaucracy of it all.
Right. You have to yell at your post soup, and then like if they take it well, they'll bring it up the ladder, which is more than just
Tom and Christina.
Yeah,
it's more than 2 rungs. It's not a step stool. It is a ladder.
Yeah, a step stool.
Yeah,
thanks, man.
You're welcome. I like to keep you down to earth.
You keep me honest.
Keep you honest.
Oh fuck! Oh, I miss you so much, Chris.
You do.
So I'm sure Chad's already been waiting in the lobby for a little bit. So I'd like to end this with, say, for example, there's someone that's watching this right now where they're like, fuck, I want to be the head of post-production of, of a podcast, like YMH or, any of the big like players out there.
Right.
And let's say they're at ground zero right now, like let's say they're in college, let's say maybe they're a waiter or they're just in an industry that's unrelated. Mm-hmm. What would you say is step one to get to where you are right now?
To get where I am, step one is learn fucking Premiere.
Just that program?
It can be Premiere, it can be Avid.
Premiere is the video editing software of the Adobe suite.
Yes. Learn how to edit. Like that's going to be the bare minimum that you need. Like you need to know how to use the program that you're going to be editing on, because otherwise, who the fuck is going to hire you?
Right.
Have a skill. That's really what it is. It's if you are skilled at this thing that people need someone who's skilled at to do, then you will get a job. Like it's that simple. It's
and then how do you find those jobs?
And then you find those jobs,
alumni associations.
Alumni associations connect. Your network is always going to be your best friend. It's the people you know.
I'll tell you 2 creative ways that I found post-production gigs.
Yeah.
Facebook groups.
Mm-hmm.
There were Facebook groups like, I need an assistant editor, I need an editor, I need a production assistant. Like those types of groups that are just like, hey, here's a gig, here's a gig, here's a gig.
There's a lot of those, yeah.
There was that. And then the other thing was, I remember getting a gig one time through Reddit. I was in the editors or post-production subreddit, and I asked, how do you get a job in a post-production house?
Yeah.
And someone responded to me, was like, I got a gig coming up. Do you want to be my AE? So you'd be surprised at how nice some random strangers on the internet can be.
Yeah.
But you could, as long as you're creative enough, you could find a job from anywhere. But step one is building that skill.
Yeah.
So what's the advice that you'd give for someone to learn Premiere?
I mean, if you can, take a class. I mean, I was all pretty self-taught for the most part. I mean, I learned how to edit in college, like in a student group. Right. So if you're in college, get connected with people that do those things. Like they're going to be your best resource, and there's no limits on what you can do because no one gives a shit when you're in college. You can do whatever you want. If you're just like, if college wasn't the thing for you, like, there's other ways. Just download the software, and there's 1,000 tutorials online. If you don't want to pay money for a class, literally Google Premiere, edit, learn. You'll find something. I guarantee you.
I'll teach you how to do everything you need. Type in your questions into YouTube about Premiere, and you'll find someone with a
best way to learn things, I think, is always to have a project in mind, because it gives you direction, it gives you structure, it gives you a goal.
Right, because editing a music video is different than editing a podcast.
Yeah, but also just having, like, it's one thing to be like, just edit something, but it's like, well, what the fuck do I edit?
Right.
I could do anything. In the music, could be paralyzed by, like, not knowing what to do. Like,
right.
So you really come up with a like I want to edit this birthday video for my friend. Like that could be your first project.
There you go.
That's your goal. Figure out how to get the footage you need and how to bring it into a program and edit that.
Right, because that's what's going to run you into the actual day-to-day problems of learning how to troubleshoot.
And it's going to be the thing that motivates you to keep working. Like if you have no goal in mind, you will not do it.
Right.
Like it's easy to be like, well, it's not for anything. Like why even bother?
Right. Right. Like for example, like I remember I was putting together this really like weird infomercial thing at this job that I was working at. It was like we were doing a holiday karaoke party. Yeah. And I was like, oh, let me make this like one of those like, oh, I can't believe like now that's what I call music volume 87 or whatever. So I made it like I took all the footage, everyone's iPhone footage, and I put together an infomercial with like blue screens and stuff like that. And I didn't know how to do most of it.
Right.
So with that mentality of like, I wanted to look like an infomercial, you know exactly like, how do I make it look like this? How do I make it look like VHS?
Exactly.
Like you give yourself parameters. Like I want it to look like this. And in that, you're able to look up all the tutorials to be able to do that.
Right.
And then as collateral damage, you will learn how to do other things while trying to learn those things.
Yes. Yes. So yeah, goal project, Google is your friend. Fucking ask questions is the other one. Like, if you don't know how to do it, there's 1,000 groups out there that are willing. Like, you were saying Reddit, for God's sakes.
But Google first before you ask your question.
But Google first before you ask your question, or you're going to get shit on.
Oh, yeah.
Hard.
Especially if it's an easy question, too. Have you ever been sent a let me Google that for you link?
I have not, but I've wanted to many times before.
It's devastating, dude.
Yeah.
It really is. Like, I've asked my mentor, like, simple questions, and he sends me let me Google that for you links. I'm like, got it.
Cool.
For sure, dude.
Go
I'll
fuck
never
myself.
call you
Got
again.
it.
My bad,
All right.
dude. Sorry, JJ.
Sorry. Shout out to JJ. But yeah.
Fuck yeah, Chris. Any more parting words? Oh, yeah, I forgot to say, any plugs? Anything you'd like to promote?
No.
Follow him on CEE_Lars on Instagram. Make sure you follow him. I'm sure monthly updates are going to be coming back.
We'll see about it.
I'd also like to thank everyone that you're seeing on screen right now. They're all producers of this show who have signed up to become producers via the Patreon link in the description below. Without their help, I wouldn't be able to put these episodes out as regularly and as well as I do. And if you would like to show support for the show, go ahead in the description and click that Patreon link in the description below. I would like to thank you for watching this episode of Catching You Up with Nadav and also with the one and only Chris Larson. But also, most importantly, I'd like to also say that this is all totally unconfirmed news.